Welcome back. We're finishing this wild series on love, divorce, and what really breaks marriages.
Today we went deep on cheating and sex as symptoms, plus money as power, and somehow love as a daily practice.
The sex part was the first punch to the face. Like, who even wants to argue about quantity versus quality mid-divorce?
I know, but his point was basically, men chase release, women chase resonance. Then everybody weaponizes it.
I buy the general vibe, but I hate the certainty. Human desire is messy as hell.
True, but in court, he's seeing patterns, like we hadn't had sex in 6 years, as a straight-up red flag story.
6 years is not a missing ingredient. That's a whole different relationship existing on silent mode.
Silent mode is one way to describe a marriage ending by osmosis.
And then people blame the affair like the secretary spawned out of nowhere.
Exactly. He kept pushing cause and effect. Cheating isn't the origin story, it's the event at the end.
But he also wasn't letting cheating off the hook, just refusing to treat it like the whole plot.
Yes, it happened. And also you neglected the marriage for 3 years. That's the attorney translation of nuance.
And then he went nuclear with engineering affairs, like 2 families at once, Christmas twice.
The logistics are what freaked me out. Like the human brain can build a spreadsheet for betrayal.
The spreadsheet is always the romantic partner, isn't it? Cheating with Excel.
And then he broadened it. The danger is oversimplifying, because it hides the "why did we get here" mechanics.
That bottomless pit idea, reverse engineer it back to where the connection started dying, was actually smart.
Also, he kept reminding, people come in as the hero, until you ask the exact wrong question and reality punches back.
The hero narrative getting wrecked is basically the job description, huh?
Then it turned darker, the serial killer documentary analogy about crime versus cover-up. He used it for divorce, too.
That part made me uneasy because he was basically saying the tracks are the behavior after the decision.
And domestic violence talk, he'd seen it, including an attempted murder, wasn't sensational, just real.
One active attempt in 25 years, but domestic violence appears so often it becomes its own category.
And suicide notifications, too, how the case ends, but the human cost doesn't pause for paperwork.
He described being hired as a weapon, which is cold but honest about power in divorce law.
I liked that he separated legal strategy from moral identity. Weapon in the hands of good people, harmful in villains' hands.
Then suddenly we got dog stories and crying, like a mood shift so violent it should be illegal.
The man wanted his dog back more than money, and the courtroom apparently turned into a reunion ceremony.
That's the most human thing about divorce law. Sometimes it's about grief, not greed.
His impermanence of love thread ran through everything. Dog, marriage, even hospice mindfulness.
I'm into impermanence, but I'm also like, are we romanticizing pain?
He framed it as presence, not romanticizing suffering. Like, treat it as loaned, not permanently gifted.
And the Thich Nhat Hanh hug exercise. Thinking of death, then remembering life while you're hugging, holy choke button.
Choke button is right. My rational brain tried to negotiate. My emotional brain lost.
Then he tied it back to chapters, not soulmates. Relationships as ongoing learning, not destiny proof.
Yeah, that soulmate critique was spicy. Soulmate myths create the belief that dissatisfaction means you picked wrong, not that people change.
Soulmates make divorce feel like personal failure, when sometimes it's just a failed chapter.
I pushed back a bit in my head, though, because some people do have once-in-a-lifetime chemistry.
But he'd say even chemistry fades unless you maintain it, like a dog bond that needs care, not mythology.
He basically treated love like training a muscle. You don't just believe in it, you do it daily.
Then we hit money, and I was surprised how much he reframed it as transparency and power.
Not money problems as scarcity, but money as control, respect, provider identity, especially when someone loses a job.
That gender asymmetry claim, men lose job, spiral, depression, women lose job, sometimes it barely touches the marriage, was bold.
I want data, but I get the mechanism. Provider roles are social scripts, and when they snap, the whole self-image breaks.
A lot of people don't fight over money. They fight over what money represents about who I am to you.
And in divorce court, it becomes brutally concrete. Mandatory discovery, subpoenas, and receipts that magically prove everything.
I've got the receipts turns into no, we have the receipts. Like the credit card company is the narrator of your downfall.
I also liked the point about debt structure and leveraged living. People think they're rich, but they're basically renting stability from banks.
That lottery story was savage. He buys the ticket, she gets half, and suddenly love dies instantly to math.
It showed that money isn't just wealth, it's negotiation position, fairness perception, and emotional control.
And then he went global with LGBT couples and open relationships, saying the patterns of love and damage still show up, just shaped by context.
His take on non-monogamy was basically, I only meet the people it failed for, so he can't generalize from outcome bias.
That's true, though it's still depressing to hear him say, they all have in common they're in my office.
Yeah, the oncologist analogy, everybody has cancer when you work in cancer. Efficiently grim.
But the core moral consistency was clear. Love is real, but humans break it, rationalize it, then suffer the consequences.
And he ended with that closing question. When was true love? And it turned into a father story about pizza slices.
That moment landed because it defined love as giving joy back without needing applause, pure, quiet sacrifice.
Also the host crying on the podcast. Iconic. Tattooed Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, emotional wreck, love wins.
For a guy who rolls, I sob should be a shirt.
I'm taking away the big thesis. Don't romanticize divorce, but don't lie to yourself about what broke, why, and how to live better after.
And also, treat everything you love like it's loaned, because the awareness changes how you act today.
Okay, I feel emotionally moisturized and mildly terrified of time. Great combo.
Perfect for the final episode. Improved love strategy, reduced denial capacity.
Thanks for hanging with us through both episodes. This series went places we didn't expect.
We'll see you in the next one. And if you can, go hug the person or the dog you're taking for granted.
Welcome back. Final episode. And we go deep on divorce, sex, power, and impermanence.
We started with cheating and the cause versus effect trap, then ended up crying about dogs and love.
I keep thinking the whole sex causes divorce headline is too clean, too neat.
Yeah, because it's usually not sex, it's the whole ecosystem around sex.
Like people act shocked, but they've got 3 years of dead bedroom vibes happening.
We forgot to have sex is the most corporate lie I've ever heard.
And the lawyer's take was basically, everyone's a hero when they narrate their own marriage.
Right, because nobody walks in going, I'm a piece of garbage, unless it's cheating specific.
The cause-effect part hit me. Cheating isn't random. It's downstream of earlier dysfunction.
Exactly, it's like the secretary ruined everything when the marriage already had cracks.
But also, don't oversimplify. Cheating still wrecks trust, even if it's predictable.
The nuance was not forgivable, but understand the conditions that made it likely.
And then the most insane tangent, multifamily setups, logistics like Christmas and Thanksgiving.
2 families, neither knows, and somehow the schedule becomes an art project.
There was that whole nannies theory too, which is uncomfortable but kind of psychologically coherent.
It's the power dynamic and the wife-like but compliant thing, right?
I don't love the generalization, but I get why the pattern shows up in courts.
Still, the advice section was oddly wholesome. Wives shouldn't disappear into parenting roles.
Yeah, remember who you are landing's way better than it has any right to.
And that whole love is loaned framing, man, it makes you calmer and more urgent at once.
I felt my brain doing that thing where it wants to procrastinate, and then it can't.
Like, you can't easily deny impermanence after hearing divorce lawyers talk like hospice volunteers.
The serial killer documentary's bit was dark, but the it's not the crime, it's the cover-up metaphor clicked.
Because once you start lying to manage one wrong choice, you create the next wrong choice.
Then he goes, thank God only once I saw a spouse try to kill someone, and suddenly the room gets colder.
I don't even know how you process hearing stabbed and run over and still stay human.
He said it too, divorce is a weapon. and the difference is whether the lawyer is good or villainous.
Weapon in the hands of a good person is the most terrifyingly comforting legal metaphor.
And the suicide/self-harm part, just the volume of cases where someone spirals feels heavy.
It makes you realize the paperwork is the visible layer of people's invisible collapse.
But then he flips to crying for beauty, not just tragedy.
The dog story. An older, gruff guy fighting for custody of a dog like it's soul medicine.
I don't care what I pay, I just want my dog back, is the plot twist of the decade.
And the emotional release. Everyone expected divorce tech, got a love manifesto.
Then he ties it to hospice volunteering and Thich Nhat Hanh's hug exercise.
Think they died while you hug them, then open your eyes and remember they're alive.
That's the kind of mindfulness that doesn't feel motivational. It feels corrective.
And I love that he didn't call it morbid. He called it responsible awareness.
Also the way he talked about love as exposure. Terrifying, but brave.
If you're not scared, it's not brave. That line's going on my internal sticky notes.
Then we had the chapters idea. Relationships ending isn't proof it was a failure.
The soulmate critique was spicy. Soulmate belief creates the perfect trap.
Yeah, because if the person is perfect, then your dissatisfaction means you picked wrong reality.
Or you start comparing your partner to an ideal you don't even remember creating.
His compare to fake point, rom-coms as porn for women, like, wow.
The Titanic logic. It's perfect because it ends before someone gets annoying 10 years later.
Whether it's comedy or tragedy depends on when you end the story. Chef's kiss.
That Orson Welles framing makes relationships feel less like fate and more like craft.
I also liked the father-son imagination comparison. Ideal in your head makes you unfair in your reality.
That's why couples get confused. Is the relationship broken, or are they refusing accurate comparisons?
Which brings us to money. He said it's not money, it's power and control.
The transparency angle is the wild part. Divorce forces discovery of the financial story.
He sounded like a hater of receipts when people say, I've got the receipts.
No, I've got the receipts, meaning subpoenas are the real flex.
And the leverage explanation. People live rich-looking lives on debt scaffolding.
The lottery case was brutal. Win $25 million after taxes, still gets half, still nukes the marriage.
The guy's like, I bought the ticket. And the spouse is like, cool, then I'm out faster.
That illustrates symbolism of money, not the arithmetic of money.
And his gender role pattern was interesting. Job loss spirals men more often in heterosexual marriages.
I'd be careful generalizing, but the court-observed trend is still worth attention.
Because it's about identity, provider-protector. And when that breaks, relationships feel unstable.
Then he goes, marriage asks a weird question. Why? And I actually agree with the challenge.
Why do you want marriage? Sounds like a tax audit question, but it's actually sane.
He's not anti-marriage, he's anti-empty answers like, because love.
I liked his covenant as symbol point, marriage as a public accountability signal, not magic chemistry.
And rings as reminders, not just romance, but commitment and tell me when I'm being dumb.
Honestly, after all that darkness and nuance, the closing love question felt like a release valve.
When did you experience true love? And he answers with pizza slices, no grand theorem.
The dad who never said, I love you, but gave away extra slices and the kid felt seen.
That's true love as action, not language. Joy for the other person that returns as your own.
And he ties it back to cuddle Pablo, because you don't know how many hugs you have left.
I mean, that ending made me want to immediately go find a dog and apologize for neglecting the moment.
Same, and I'm borrowing the whole treat love like it's loaned thing tomorrow morning.
Because you can't control when things end, but you can control how awake you are while they're here.
Thanks for hanging with us through both episodes. This series went places we didn't expect.
We'll see you in the next one, and if you can, go hug the person or the dog you're taking for granted.
Welcome back, because this final episode went from divorce strategy to heartbreak poetry.
We explored why cheating and sex timing blow up marriages, and why money is really about power and control.
And then it somehow turned into, love is loaned, impermanence is the point, hug the dog.
I still can't believe a divorce lawyer made me emotional about pizza slices.
Okay, but before the finale, sex shows up as this villain in divorces, right?
It's always framed like they cheated, but the story is rarely that straight line.
Yeah, like cause and effect gets confused. Cheating is a symptom, not the whole disease.
Exactly, because if sex disappears for years, something broke earlier.
Also, the sex expectations mismatch is wild. Quantity versus quality, apparently.
And he's basically saying men chase doneness, women chase meaningness.
But hold up, does that generalize too hard? Like people aren't one stereotype.
True, it's a seat-of-the-pants pattern, not a universal law of biology.
Still, it explains why "we hadn't had sex in 6 years" is such a red-hot story.
6 years. That's not a spice issue, that's a structural collapse.
It's like saying the car ran out of fuel, then blaming the engine for choking.
The bigger trap is oversimplifying, like Secretary did it.
Right, as if the marriage was thriving and then one person floated in with a hijacking plan.
He kept pushing reverse engineer the cause, which feels brutally honest.
And honestly, it's empowering, because it makes your choices traceable.
Instead of we were doomed, it becomes we drifted.
Drift is scarier, because drift implies you were asleep, not cursed.
That sleeping theme shows up again when he talks about love, how we forget it while it's here.
Okay, now the money part? This was the spicy pivot, because everyone thinks it's about being broke.
No, it's about leverage, respect, control, money as the scoreboard of dignity.
He also said people lie to themselves about wealth, because they're not actually asset-rich, they're leveraged.
Like I own a home, but most of it is the bank's mortgage gravity.
And the cars are leased, so your lifestyle is basically rented from capitalism.
That's why in divorce, what you thought you had often becomes what you actually controlled.
I liked the transparency line, like the real money fight is the secrecy fight.
And the legal mechanism, mandatory discovery, basically forces the accounting to stop being fantasy.
Also, credit cards as receipts is the most unsexy way to catch your spouse's entire plot.
Yeah, and he even framed hiding money as a predictable game of trace and subpoena.
But then he went personal. Losing a job isn't just income, it messes with identity.
Especially the traditional provider-protector role. When that breaks, the self-image collapses.
Yet he said when women lose jobs, it doesn't wreck the marriage as often in his experience.
Which points to the cultural scripting around who is supposed to be strong.
So money is never really money. It's the permission structure for power.
We fought over dinner receipts, but the core argument was, I lost status.
That's why the same number can mean different things. Security versus control versus fear.
And the serial killer documentary's tangent? That was unexpectedly poetic about choice and cover-up.
Because he basically said the crime isn't what gets you caught. The cover-up is.
He applied it to relationships, too. The decisions you make to protect the story become the tracks.
Which is chilling, because it implies your attempt to manage reality creates more reality to manage.
Yeah, and then he stepped into domestic violence and self-harm. This got heavy fast.
Incredibly, he kept it grounded, like he's seen threats, survivors, cases ending overnight.
And he also said he's a weapon, which is such a sharp metaphor for legal work.
Then he immediately counterbalances it with a dog custody win, like justice plus innocence.
The guy wanting his dog back, not the money. He tears up just describing that.
That's when the beauty theme took over. Love is something you do, not something you declare.
Exactly, and then it loops into impermanence. Dogs age, people go, relationships end.
Treat love like it's loaned is now a core phrase in my brain, and I hate that it's true.
Because if love is temporary, then neglect is violence toward the moment, not toward the future.
Did you catch the monk exercise? Hug someone, imagine they've died, then hug them alive.
That's the kind of mindfulness that feels like it could choke you in the best way.
And it matches the vibe of the whole convo. Marriage, sex, power, all reduced to attention.
Attention is the real lever. What you notice, what you repair, what you appreciate before it's gone.
Also, he basically attacked the soulmate myth as business fuel for divorce lawyers.
Soulmate creates, they're perfect, so I must be wrong, which makes people quit too late or too fast.
But his alternative, Chapters, feels healthier, like endings can still be successful.
That's the "did you become a better person" question, not "was it forever?"
And the Netflix rom-com comparison, Titanic being perfect because it ends before the mistakes.
That joke was too good, he died before he could screw it up.
It's not cynical, though. It's just trying to drag people back to real timelines.
Because imagining the ideal makes the real relationship feel like failure, even when it's just unfinished work.
And that's why he kept returning to learning. What you wanted, what you needed, what you avoided.
Okay, now fast forward to the closing question. True love, first time it hit him.
The pizza slices story. Dad didn't say, "I love you," but love showed up as extra pieces.
That's true love as action, not language. Joy for the other person returning as your own.
And it ties right back to Cuddle Pablo, because attention is basically love in motion.
I mean, that ending made me want to go hug every living thing I've been taking for granted.
Same, and I'm borrowing the whole treat love like it's loaned thing tomorrow morning.
Because you can't control when things end, but you can control how awake you are while they're here.
And that's honestly what the divorce lens gave me. Love isn't theory, it's practice.
Right. And if you can practice with impermanence in mind, you stop treating people like background objects.
Which is kind of the whole series message, even when it was about sex schedules and money power.
We'll take that to the world. Hug early, ask why, tell the truth, and repair before drift becomes rupture.
Thanks for hanging out with us through both episodes. This series went places we didn't expect.
That's it for now, and if you can, go hug the person or the dog you're taking for granted.
Welcome back, you absolute chaos gremlins. This is the final episode.
We're tying divorce, sex, money power, and impermanence into one big love story.
The whole sex causes divorces thing got more complicated fast.
Yeah, because it's never just the secretary, it's the whole system around her.
I loved how it reframed cheating as cause and effect, not just a headline.
The vibe was, cheating didn't spawn in a vacuum, bro.
And the sex differences, quantity versus quality, made me nod like an idiot.
Quantity guys are like, get the poison out, then let me function.
While women are like, if we're doing this, it better feel like something.
But I also appreciated the pushback. Don't turn gender into a stereotype machine.
Yeah, because the bigger point was, people ignore the marriage until it's emergency time.
6 years without sex. How do you even reach that sentence without a coma?
Exactly. It felt like the story is always we forgot, but the body doesn't forget.
And then the lawyer lens goes, okay, what conditions made this likely?
That's where it got kind of strategic, almost like detective work on the heart.
And he compared reverse engineering the marriage to going back to the first bad choice.
That's also why serial killer logic showed up. Crime versus cover-up.
It's grim, but it maps. The why is hiding in what people do next.
And then we hit domestic violence and suicide notes, heavy stuff.
The way it was said was clinical but not cold, like still human.
I kept thinking about that weapon line, divorce lawyer as protection versus harm.
Yeah, because the same tool can serve justice or escalate villainy.
It also made me rethink why anyone would cry in a practice built for conflict.
The dog story, getting him his dog back, that was surprisingly cinematic.
Older, gruff guy crying like a kid over one animal basically broke me.
That's where impermanence stopped being philosophy and became a smell and sight memory.
The Thich Nhat Hanh hug exercise is the kind of thing that ruins your afternoon.
Closing your eyes, imagining death, and then reopening to "they're alive" is violent in a good way.
I mean, it's basically a mindfulness hack that targets your denial directly.
And it matched the whole series theme, repair before drift becomes rupture.
Then we jumped into soulmates, and the critique was spicy.
Soulmates facilitate divorces might be the most self-ownish truth ever.
Because if it's the one, then dissatisfaction equals failure of selection, not change management.
He basically said relationships are chapters, not verdicts.
I loved that analogy. Like dogs, you can love the current one without erasing the previous one.
People act like love is a limited resource in a ration pack.
And then he took rom-com comparison and compared it to porn for women, respectfully brutal.
Titanic is perfect because it ends before the arguments start.
Whether it's comedy or tragedy depends on when you end the story. That line hit.
And that father-son comparison method was actually clever. Stop comparing to your imagination.
Compare to real relationships, not Pinterest perfection with a soundtrack.
Also, the quickest divorce anecdote, 48 hours, was like marriage as impulse buy.
Vegas marriage, speedrun regret, then legal gymnastics.
But the bigger pivot for me was money and transparency being the hidden villain.
Not you're broke, but you're being unclear, because money is power and control.
Money's just currency, but humans welded it to dignity, respect, and identity.
And the statistics would be fascinating. When a man loses his job, it spirals differently.
Because masculinity in that script becomes provider-protector, then the world feels like it breaks.
Meanwhile, if the woman becomes breadwinner, sometimes the emotional math flips.
Which isn't biology, it's learned expectations and bargaining power.
And then he said something that felt practical. In divorce, discovery means we see the receipts.
Credit card subpoenas, employer data, turning trust me into here's the statement.
And the idea that people think they own things, but they're leveraged through banks and leases.
Net worth cosplay, rich appearance, thin reality.
The lottery story was brutal. He's like, I bought the ticket. And the law's like, so?
And then he's in the office because half the money still didn't fix the underlying misery.
The LGBT section was interesting too, how outsider status changes rule following.
Tradition as peer pressure from dead people. That line was wild and kind of true.
Also, Will and Grace, don't kiss era. Time travel feels real.
And the caution about controversies even after marriage equality. Progress isn't the finish line.
Then open relationships and polyamory got handled in a way only a divorce attorney could.
Like an oncologist saying, of course I've seen cancer.
We've all heard ethical non-monogamy as an idea, but he said most cases he sees don't survive.
The underlying point was, don't pretend the don't ask, don't tell mask is intimacy.
And he made marriage sound both legal and emotional, like a framework for accountability.
Which led to the why get married question, not just because love.
Yeah, he basically attacked the non-answer response like it owed him rent.
Marriage as a public declaration. Hold me accountable, not magic guarantee of bliss.
And that's where it all ties back. Love is something you practice awake.
Impermanence is not the enemy of love. It's the reason love gets real.
I'm honestly taking the treat it like it's loaned line with me everywhere.
Because you can't control when things end, but you can control how awake you are.
Exactly. So you stop treating people like background objects.
And you remember, repair, honesty, and presence beat fantasy every time.
This is the last one for the series, and it went places we didn't plan.
That's the gift. Love always finds a way to surprise you.
Thanks for riding with us through both episodes.
That's it for now. Go hug the person or the dog you're taking for granted.
Welcome back. This finale episode was equal parts divorce reality and love poetry.
We went deep on sex, cheating, money as power, and why impermanence makes love braver.
Okay, but I want to pick up on the sex part, because that was spicy.
Spicy, yeah, but also somehow clinical, like men want quantity, women want quality.
I mean, that's a broad pattern, but I felt like it flattened a lot of human variety.
Sure, but the deeper claim was about expectations and resentment, not anatomy charts.
The we didn't have sex in 6 years story, bro, that marriage was already dust.
Yeah, the spouse's surprise at cheating sounded like, how did the spaceship explode?
It's like they forgot sex exists, then act shocked when the universe remembers it.
And then the big pushback. Cheating isn't just cause, it's often the effect of conditions.
I agree conceptually, but cheating still feels like its own volcano.
Absolutely, it's not forgivable, it's understandable as a symptom of rot.
The reverse engineering part was wild. Like, why wasn't anyone sleeping with anyone?
Exactly. People want the secretary story, but the marriage spreadsheet is already failing elsewhere.
Marriage spreadsheet, yes, now I'm picturing HR for intimacy.
And what fascinated me is how the hero narrative shows up even in infidelity.
Everyone walks in like, I'm basically a saint, and the plot twist is betrayal.
In divorce work, you see how quickly people forget their own part in the story.
The two families at once, Christmas with both logistics, how is that even possible?
That's the engineering theme. People are creative when they're hiding tracks.
Tracks. You connected that to cover-ups in serial killer documentaries, which was intense.
Yeah, the emotional logic is similar. People get trapped in choices, then double down.
I didn't expect the conversation to wander into attempted murder and suicide context.
Me neither, but it made the conditions idea feel painfully real.
The fact that he'd seen one case where a spouse tried to kill the client, one in 25 years.
And domestic violence shows up more broadly, even when nobody predicts it.
The contrast was important, though. He talked about resilience and beauty, too.
He cried about beauty more often than upset, which is such a weirdly clean mindset.
The dog story, getting a dog back, hit me like an emotional plot twist.
Because it's simple stakes, love, loss, and relief without ideology or revenge.
And then the whole impermanence thread, like love is loaned, not gifted.
Yeah, because you can't negotiate time, you just decide how awake you are to it.
I love the philosophy, but sometimes it can feel like emotional doom dressed as wisdom.
Doom dressed as wisdom is still better than numbness in my book.
Fair, but there's a difference between mindfulness and spiraling.
Totally. His tone wasn't death is coming, it was therefore be kind now.
That Thich Nhat Hanh hug exercise, imagining the last hug and then the next one alive, holy.
Yeah, it turns ordinary affection into something urgent without being frantic.
And then he connected it to divorce work, which I didn't expect to click so beautifully.
Because divorce is basically love made visible at the edges, what people took for granted.
The chapter's idea was such a better framing than soulmates and destiny traps.
Soulmates is the business model of your ego. If they're perfect, I must be wrong.
Or, this other person is the real soulmate, and suddenly you're shopping humans.
Exactly, and he argued it sabotages accountability and growth.
He also compared relationships to dog love. Same capacity, different dog.
That was the point. Love isn't limited like a battery. It expands through experience.
But is that healthy optimism or denial of painful reality?
It's neither denial nor cynicism. It's realistic hope.
I loved the line that, if you compare relationships to your imagination, you'll be dissatisfied.
Most rom-coms are Titanic ends before problems start, which is hilarious and tragic.
Whether it's comedy or tragedy depends on when you end the story. That one was a mic drop.
And then he tested it by asking people about how they met. Suddenly the present lightens.
Which means the relationship isn't only broken, it's just exhausting and out of focus.
And that's why he said marriage sometimes needs repair, honesty, and presence, not fantasy therapy.
Speaking of fantasy therapy, money. That section was unexpectedly savage.
Yes, money as power, control, respect, opportunity. It's not just how much you have.
But transparency is scary. Like, should I tell my partner everything?
Legally in divorce, everyone gets discovery. Financials, receipts, the whole trail.
OnlyFans receipts energy was. I felt seen and indicted.
The lawyer brain cannot unsee a credit card statement.
The idea that people think they're rich but are actually leveraged, that blew my mind.
Because net worth is net of liabilities, not vibes and jewelry and leased cars.
The lottery story was insane, though. She gets half, just flips the emotional contract overnight.
Right, 1 second he's, we can't afford 2 bills, the next second she's, see ya.
That's when money stops being currency and starts being leverage.
And leverage shapes who you are to your partner. Provider, protector, dependent, threat.
He also said job loss hits men harder in heterosexual marriages, like identity collapse.
Yeah, because masculinity gets coded as provision, not merely employment.
It may be pattern-heavy, but it's still useful. Shows why it's not money can be true.
Exactly. It's what the money symbolizes when the world shifts under you.
Now the wild pivot. LGBT and tradition is peer pressure from dead people.
That line was blunt, but it captured the freedom that came from being excluded.
And marriage equality as a Faustian bargain. Like you win rights, but now you inherit conversations and expectations.
Yes, the structure shows up. Then you have to renegotiate meaning and commitments.
Do you think that's fair, or does it sound like everything will break eventually, again?
It's fair as caution, not destiny. Honeymoon is short, reality arrives.
Open relationships too. He basically said he sees the ones that fail, because that's his clientele.
Statistics by divorce court attendance, brutal sampling bias.
But his analogy to an oncologist is perfect. You only notice cancer because you're in the cancer room.
And still, he pushed that secrecy, don't ask, don't tell, is another kind of damage.
Then his marriage is a legal status point tied everything together. Love isn't contracts, but humans like symbols.
Rings as reminders for accountability, like a tribe that checks you gently before you sabotage yourself.
Also, wedding rings as a magic deterrent. Suddenly you're safe to talk to.
Social camouflage, basically. He's married, don't flirt, he'll file the paperwork.
And we ended on true love. The pizza slices scene was such a pure image.
That's love as joy for the other person, not grand speeches or vocabulary.
Honestly, I walked in expecting divorce mechanics and left with an urge to call my people and hug everything.
Same. Impermanence doesn't kill love. It makes you treat it like it's the one you'll lose next.
Okay, so before we wrap, what are you going to do differently tomorrow?
I'm going to stop letting conversations become later and be present on purpose.
That's dangerously actionable for a podcast philosopher.
Good, because love always finds a way to surprise you.
Thanks for riding with us through both episodes, for real.
That's it for now. Go hug the person or the dog you're taking for granted.